When you're retired, I can make a compelling case that what you make on your investment portfolio matters less than when you make it. Almost no one talks about this, but it's a retirement plan killer. Something called sequence of returns risk. I know that sounds boring. Don't worry. I'm going to break it all down for you today in easy to understand terms. And I'll also show you how we plan for this with our clients so that you can do the same for yourself. So the basic problem is this: most folks approach their investment portfolio in retirement the same way they approached it for the previous 40 years during their work career. They try not to be too risky, they try to diversify, and most of the time the strategy kind of stops there. Here's the issue with that, and I've said it many times before: while you're working, if you spend less than you make and you save for the future and you diversify your investments, you're like 90% of the way there to doing all of the right stuff. The last 10% is meaningful, but it's less impactful as long as you're doing the right things along the way. Then you retire and you hit the distribution phase. Time to start to use those assets to support your retirement. The key here is that it's a completely different game. Taxes work completely differently. Having a retirement income plan, how you're going to draw funds from, how often and from where, matters a great deal. It's like literally having two different financial systems: one for workers who are earning income and saving for the future, and another for folks who are retired. But not everyone plans accordingly. What if I told you that two people could retire at 65 with $1 million? They could draw 5% from their portfolio per year, make the same average of 6% per year, but one of them completely runs out of money at age 85 and the other one dies at age 90 and leaves more money to their heirs than when they started, when they retired with $1 million. You'd probably tell me I was nuts, but I'm not nuts. That's the risk that we're talking about, and I'm going to prove it to you today with math. So I'm going to give you an example of Happy Dave and Krabby Jack. Now, you already know that Krabby Jack is going to be the guy that runs out of money. We're not going to have the happy guy run out of money. That would just be foolish on my part. I got to name him, so that's how I decided to name him. But stick with me while I explain it and show it to you. So during the time that you're working, because you aren't taking distributions, it doesn't matter when you earn or lose money. It matters what your average return is over the entire time frame. Two people with the same average return who put in the same amount of money over the same time frame end up at the same spot, even if they take completely different paths to get there. That's just not true when you start drawing from your portfolio. Here's the math to show you about our two friends. So here's Happy Dave. He gets out of the gate strong. He happens to retire at a time when the market is good, and so he gets some good investment returns for his first few years of retirement. Now, he still has losses. He still averages 6%, but as a whole, the losses come a little later in retirement. Now, Krabby Jack, things don't go as well for him. On the whole, he'll still average the same 6% return, but he stumbles out of the gate, and this is no fault of his own. The market doesn't cooperate. It's not concerned with the fact that he just retired. It was a downturn in the market. He retires into a down stock market. What are you going to do? So what happens? Well, it's kind of like a snowball rolling downhill. He's drawing an increasing amount of money because we're adjusting these withdrawals to cover inflation from a smaller and smaller pool of money because the market is going down. These two factors basically doom him within the first few years of retirement. Look at him at age 70. He's only 5 years in. Even though he's had positive returns of 15%, 9%, 6% in the last 3 years, he's now drawing $54,122 from a portfolio of just over 684 grand. That's almost an 8% distribution rate. I can tell you right there, even with almost $700,000 to his name, if he lives long enough, he's going to run out of money. That's not a sustainable distribution rate. Happy Dave, while drawing the same amount of money, at that point is at a 3.4% distribution rate because his portfolio is actually higher than when he retired. And it's higher because he got out of the gate well. He had those good investment returns early. So let me ask you this. How do you retire when the market's good so you can be like Happy Dave? Well, unless you have a crystal ball, there's no way to know how to do this. This risk sequence of returns is completely outside of your control. You, me, anybody watching the video can't control the stock market. So right about now, you're like, hey, thanks, Antonio. Way to throw a wet blanket on my retirement party. But as they say in the infomercials, but wait, there's more. You may not be able to move the market, but you can plan this risk away. You can do it by guaranteeing your retirement income so it's not subject to market fluctuations, and then by segmenting out your portfolio in a bucket plan so that you don't need to draw from your riskiest assets, your stock market money, in an inopportune time, at a time when the market is not cooperating. If done well, that can essentially eliminate sequence of returns risk because you aren't drawing from these assets when they go down, which means you don't have to start rolling the snowball downhill like we saw with our friend Krabby Jack. Now, if you're looking for exactly how to segment your portfolio, have no fear. I did a video about it, and it's right here.